Believe me or not, but feminism can sometimes be too much. Now, don't get me wrong, despite the red pillars and incels complaining about how feminism ruined Western civilization, it's actually a necessary thing in not just Western nations, but everywhere in the world. But it's like everything else in life, and it can go too far. I've had this YouTube tab open since I've talked about the chopped man epidemic Shaolin airbending master a couple centuries ago, and the video I saw reminded me of this.
I am the feminist who is out to ruin your life.
Allow me to introduce to you that ball-busting, man-hating, crazy-ass, lovely super feminist that is going to ruin your life. Imani Forrester.
I am the feminist who is ruining your perfectly respectful marriage.
Jesus, nigga, for the love of God.
Shut the f*** up.
Now, taking a first look at this channel and going off of her video titles, we got quite the treat. XY says male friendships are making them lonelier. Why 80% of women are no longer interested in dating. This is your sign to become unpunishable when it comes to males. Yo, is this person retarded? Even roaches can understand consent and accountability. What's your excuse? And last of all, you can always be meaner to XYs. Now, a lot of her videos are really long, and if she's anything like YV Edit, who I might also make a video on, I'd give her the benefit of the doubt and hear her out for at least 2 or 3 of the videos. But the thing is that from the handful of minutes of her content that I've watched, I'm under the impression that a good majority of this channel is essentially a TikTok compilation, with the occasional commentary given by our lovely Imani. Unlike YV, who is actually making her own content and sharing her actual opinions, this person, or people since there's multiple voices I hear in the videos, is essentially making content from other people's contents. It's mostly compilations of amateur TikToks of women complaining about something to do with a man and giving their takes on men as a whole, on men as a demographic. From these video titles alone though, it's safe to say that Imani F is not a feminist. Oh nah, she's something more. She's a female chauvinist.
I am the one who convinced her to get that shorter haircut that you pretend to like, but don't really like.
Nobody fucking cares!
Now, when it comes to passing judgment on any channel, I like to give it a fair chance. That means I have to watch at least a couple of videos before I can give a remotely fair judgment or an opinion on something. Despite these crazy ass titles and lazy thumbnails, maybe she's actually got something insightful to say. Now, despite the long runtimes of her videos that I simply don't want to give my time to, I actually have taken the time to watch a few of her longer form videos while I was driving. And it's mostly, like I said, nothing but shitty TikTok compilations. But I also do mention that a couple of them do actually include her opinion. Which leads me to the video that I'm gonna kinda use as a sample to judge her channel or whatever. Are we in a chopped man epidemic? Question mark. 100 XYs versus beauty standards. I'm gonna watch a bit of her video where she actually speaks and give my opinion on the video first, and then kind of use it as this proxy to give my opinion on the channel as a whole. So to sum up my live reaction, though it's this second voice I mentioned doing all the talking, and her name is Denise or something, I actually find myself agreeing with a lot of the points she made. And the subject I found very interesting was this.
Historically, beauty standards were always deliberately hard to reach. In times of famine, or where most of the population was poor, it was being fat and plump. Only something that rich people could attain.
I think it isn't a far-fetched thing to say that women throughout history have been oppressed and controlled by beauty standards. It's part of what spawned this gender wars horse shit that our lovely Imani is unfortunately indulging in. But at the same time, when you consider the role that the halo effect plays on not just men, but on human beings everywhere, I think there's a little bit more nuance to this talking point that I kinda don't want to get into here. But with all the decent points she presents in this video, there's just one massive issue here. the actual presentation of these ideas. I can agree with them in a vacuum, but when they're riddled with hatred and apathy towards men for just for the virtue of being men, it becomes much harder to agree with. And sure, this person could justify their actions by saying, men do it on a larger scale. But if your solution to this actual problem is to insinuate that a whole demographic is subhuman because of their genetic makeup, as much as I am an advocate for letting the women having their fun when they want to make fun of penis bearers, I cannot employ that same logic here, and I just have to call this behavior for what it is, childish. At the end of the day, this is a grown-ass woman we're talking about doing something that a preschooler would do. Now, it's a useful tactic when trying to filter out your audience, because at the end of the day, this is a channel oriented towards female viewers. She antagonizes men as a way to keep them out. But then it'd be safe to say that this is essentially an echo chamber, especially when you consider the fact that she uses mostly other people's content to kind of push the ideas that she's pushing through the channel.
I am the feminist who is pushing your daughter down the slippery slope of sluthood.
Now, from this video, when it comes to the whole channel, my opinion is pretty different. When a decent 75% of your channel is nothing but lazy TikTok compilations with very little commentary trying to push this narrative, then it's hard to regard you as some form of smart or aware of something. I don't even know. You're not going to change anything in society by expressing hatred for anyone, let alone so-called XYs. The femcel revolution that she insinuates that's going to happen is never going to happen because this Imani autist fails to understand the critical something. Feminist movements in the 1960s succeeded in part because of some men who would have benefited from the way the system was back then that went yeah, we agree with you and we're going to march with you. Now, yes, it isn't as black and white as that, but the fact that certain men have stood up, even back then, shows that going we don't need men, screw them all, they should just perish, is just objectively retarded. It's just like the March on Washington. There were white people who benefited from the way things were in the past, who actually joined black people in demanding equal rights. Now, I'm playing with fire by using this analogy, given, based off of her name at least, there's a 50% chance that this person might be white and not understand at all this analogy I'm making, but let's not go down that road of making assumptions. Yo, editing me here, I figured out something. I have reason to believe that this woman is black, so my bad for making that assumption. Also, for a channel that claims to be about quote-unquote decentering men from your life and being the crux of some peaceful separatist movement, you sure do talk about them quite a lot, to the point that you publish an entire fucking book. And in talking about them, you do use very incendiary language that is hard to consider peaceful, but hey, that's just me, man. Now, something I want to talk about is my wording. I use the term female chauvinist throughout the video for a reason. The manosphere and radical fascist conservatives have unfortunately appropriated the term feminist. And while it's a tragedy on its own that some male idiots did this in a country of poorly educated morons, people like this Imani person only makes these arguments that these right-wing bros spit out appear more plausible. When you're employing the similar dehumanization tactics that Nazis used 100 years ago by referring to everyone who happens to be born with a penis by their chromosome makeup as if to insinuate that they're inferior in some way, I don't know dude, but it just makes you a little hard to sympathize with. These types of people want power. They are not interested at all in equity, and they're willing to weaponize Western cultural norms when it comes to trying to get that power, which is, no matter how you put it, abusive. It's people like these who just perpetuate the whole cycle of antagonization that makes everyone at the end of the day mad. I'm not saying that because they started this, because obviously a woman does not develop a hatred of men out of nowhere. But what I'm saying is that they're retarded enough not to recognize this cycle or stop it altogether. But does that mean that I'm retarded? Since one of these types of people could point to this video I'm making and say I'm perpetuating this cycle? Listen man, I try to be reasonable and hear this person out for at least 3 hours of my life. 3 hours that I'm never gonna get back, but like 2.5 of those hours weren't even her own content. And for like the roughly 30 minutes that were her own content, it was just her being an asshole and showing that she's not the greatest person on this planet, while LARPing as this Shira 7 wannabe. Like, I swear to God, she's just another manosphere YouTuber, just branded instead for women. The parallels with the manosphere are crazy.
Yes, I am that militant, man-hating ball-buster.
If you're a woman unironically watching this channel, I'm not gonna call you some 403 or some other horribly sexist term. I'm just gonna call you retarded, because that's what you are. Just like the people who subscribe to the Red Pill, the amount of parallels between the ideas that this person spits out and the ideas that the manosphere champions is crazy. And much like these men who get into the whole manosphere stuff and start LARPing as this a pimp named Slickback wannabe type of character.
My name is
The pimp named Slickback.
These women need to do some work on themselves or something, because the types of people who watch this type of channel unironically clearly have some form of men trauma from men. But I just know for a fact that ain't no actual femcel heard me out to this part of the video, because they've probably already written off my opinion, simply because I was born with a wee-wee. Or vagina. I mean, you really don't know. This voice you hear behind this screen you're watching me through belongs to a trans man. Now, something I've neglected to mention is that her channel name also has the title of some book she published that's actually available on Amazon, if you want to buy that. And hell, let's talk about the book for a couple of seconds. Now, maybe if this video got I don't know, 3,000 views and 100 likes or so, I'd actually make a follow-up to this video, and it would be of me actually spending my hard-earned money and reading this book. Actually, let's get this thing to 3K, and I'll buy not only this book that she's advertising and plastering on her page everywhere, but also purchase this membership to uncover the arcane female chauvinist secrets so I can react to it. In the future, of course. But I can only react to this thing on the surface level, so let's do that. Given this thing was published in either 2022 or 2023, it's obvious that it's a kind of reactionary thing to this lovely book. And as cringy, fucking idiotic, and shameful to their race as these two black dumbasses are, it's kind of laughable that this Imani person would stoop to their level and kind of engage in the same low, underhanded tactics to kind of launch pot shots at the other sex or gender or whatever, or what have you. Because at the end of the day, she's not really doing anything. By taking this course of action, she's actively working against the causes that she claims to be working for reasons I've explained previously. In trying to look for any relevant images to make a thumbnail with, I actually came across this Twitter page, which is proof enough to me at least that this hatred of men is ingrained in this person's existence. This person is nothing but hateful and uses the fact that she's a woman to justify spitting out the same venom that the toxic manosphere channels spit out. If there ever was an ideal world, this poor woman, much like these crazy manosphere autists, would be locked up in an insane asylum in a straitjacket forever. But perhaps I'm being a little too hard on this person because this is not the first time I've seen this type of channel. I only decided to make this video on her because she's the most extreme. But at the same time, this person is a woman second, a human being first, which is why I feel the need to say this. Dear Imani Forrester, I'm sorry that whatever happened to you that caused this hatred of yours that you have happened. And it was probably a terrible thing done to you by the scum of the earth. But that doesn't excuse projecting your hatred out onto the world. You're only going to radicalize women for your cause and men against your cause, and cause suffering for both men, and by proxy, the women you claim to stand for. But then again, you're just the other side of the incel coin, so it is a little bit hard to so I feel like I am kind of wasting my time trying to reason with you, but I have no idea.
I am out to infringe upon your rights and freedoms and extra room on the subway bestowed upon you for having a penis.
Pickle teen that boy. They go to come green hair that boy. Boy, oh, dirt that boy. Afro hair. Look.
Yo, what is good, people? You've made it to the end of another video, and I just want to say thank you once again. Thank you for watching to the end, and thank you for 10 subscribers, even though I'm a couple centuries late to it. If you've made it this far and like what you see, drop a like, subscribe for more unfettered YouTuber reviews, I guess, and yeah, check out my other stuff, and have a nice day. Oh yeah, and for like the one person that actually cares, yo, my bad that it took me a couple of centuries to make this one video. I'm not at a loss of video ideas, and I already have a bunch of ideas on the way, but the thing is, I just have a busy life. Clearly, talking about other channels is doing me nicely, and I'm gonna lean into it a little bit more, but whatever, same old YouTuber shit once again. Subscribe, like, give me a kith, and yeah. Deuces.